Last 2 seconds.
Thank you, Jan.
Okay, great.
Fine. Tacita, do you want to start with your own thing and Chris can take over?
Okay, good evening and good afternoon, everybody. We're very happy to be here and we're very much enjoying ourselves in Mumbai. We've just come from our roundtable discussion. This is something that we initiated in 2015 in the Getty Research Institute in Los Angeles. And it was the first time that we encouraged the various communities involved in the use of film, from artists, filmmakers, stock manufacturers, lab owners, the Academy for Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, festivals, education, to sit around museums as well, to sit around one table and to discuss with great concentration how we could keep film as a medium available for future generations. And this was the first of four. This is the first of four. The second one was in London. The third one happened in Mexico City without Chris. And then now we're in Mumbai, Reframing the Future of Film 4.
Yeah, Chris, you want to just add? Do you want to talk about
What do we want to tell
about why are we here and
why are we here?
I'll just give the background.
Yeah, we had a very productive meeting this morning with a lot of different members of the Indian filmmaking community. And what Tacita and I have been trying to do with these meetings, where we bring together all the different facets of film production and exhibition, is to really make the case for the place that celluloid film will have in the future, in a post-digital world, and looking at the importance of film and celluloid film as a distinct medium, not as a technology that has been replaced by digital imaging, but as a creative medium that Tacita as an artist and myself as a narrative filmmaker that we depend upon. And we've had very productive coming together, in different filmmaking communities around the world, as Tacita said, starting with Hollywood and then going to Britain and now coming here to the largest film industry in the world. And really trying to engage filmmakers in this discussion about how we can maintain and improve and continue to enjoy a celluloid, photochemical, analog infrastructure for filmmaking. And the significance really of doing this with the Film Heritage Foundation is that this also has a very, very important part to play in preserving for future generations the history of film, and obviously in this case the history of Indian film, for future generations to be able to experience the way that those filmmakers who made those films originally intended, by promoting film print screenings, by being able to properly preserve and protect the works of the past and make them available to the audiences of tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you, Chris, and thank you, Tacita, for being with us for this wonderful session we had. For the media, if you're interested, it was a very great mix. I think for the very first time, we had such wonderful people from different aspects of creativity coming together, whether you had the director Sabyasachi Mukherjee or Tasneem Mehta from the museums, or you had Shah Rukh Khan and Mr. Bachchan, or you had the exhibitors from Inox, PVR, even from SP Films from the south, or some of the big DOPs, Santosh Sivan, Sudeep Chatterjee, Jaya Bachchan, Anupama Chopra, Siddharth Roy Kapoor. And I think what is very important as a film preservationist and also as a filmmaker, because I've shot everything on celluloid in whatever I've shot with, is that we are fighting a battle to save celluloid films in India, where people are disbanding those films. People are not realizing the importance of celluloid. And when you have two such great advocates who are talking about coexistence with digital format, coexistence in projection, coexistence in every aspect as a medium of film, it just strengthens our advocacy for celluloid as a preservation tool. I mean, we shouldn't forget in India, till 2014, we were still shooting on film. I mean, when I shot Celluloid Man, I was so interested that it should be shot with different cameras. So I actually shot on every possible camera which existed, whether it was Super 8, 16, even a 70 Panavision, every possible. And it was because I wanted to experiment, because I knew that I'm dealing with a history of films. And with the history of films, what is fascinating for me is the transition of different periods which we have gone with formats and the change we have seen in terms of celluloid. And I wanted to have all that in one film because I didn't know when will I get a chance to shoot different formats and different films. And I think that challenge to preserve different formats, the different forms of celluloid, I think that's something which is a challenge even now for us, because people are sort of digitally transferring films in a sort of format in India, especially for India, where everything is called HD, and we are disrespecting the aspect ratios. So for me, this dialogue was of utmost importance in projecting film, in shooting in film, and more importantly, for preservation. We have been reading reports everywhere of how many films are being lost or thrown, or I visit godowns and, you know, you're just seeing a sad way celluloid has been neglected and people have just moved on. So I hope their advocacy will help us to preserve this long history. I mean, till 2014, we were shooting on celluloid. Do you want to throw that away? So let's preserve that. Yeah. So that's what we were talking about. Yeah. Anything?
So do we take questions or we carry on?
Yeah. Ira, do we take? That's it. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, what were the conversations? Okay. Do you want to just...
Continue.
Yeah, just a few conversations.
Okay, the first in the round table was divided into sort of three sections, and the first was about capture or filming. I should say that also amongst us was Jeff Clark, the CEO of Kodak, who in our Getty event came out and said that actually Kodak is absolutely committed to film. And this, and again in the public event that evening. And this was a moment where, you know, there had been a lot of, you know, speculation that film was over. And actually to this day, I keep being asked, does Kodak still make film? And they do, very much so. And so that alone is to try and stop the understanding that, or the misunderstanding that film is not available anymore. It is available, it's very much available. And I think the whole point of this, and I'm an artist, so my context is within galleries and museums, and what's very important to me, and which is as something that's, having spoken to Chris a bit about this, is that a lot of filmmakers are not allowed to choose, you know, actually don't have the right to, or the authority to choose the medium with which they want to make their work. And in art, of course, in my world, you know, mediums, and I pluralize it deliberately to give it power, are what artists use. You know, we all know that artists use, you know, paint, they can use print, they can use photography, film, sculpture. That makes sense to everybody in this room. And for, you know, within cinema to be told you can only use digital was a very foolhardy thing. So this was the beginning of our discussion, was about how to encourage people to shoot on film again, and saying that it's available was the first thing. And also in a way to counteract the negativity about film, you know, the pessimism. And so that was, and then we moved on to exhibition. That, you know, it's very important that, you know, clearly cinema is in India and in much of the world in a mass way is become digital cinema. But that doesn't mean that film's not available in film, some theatres and archives and in museums, and also for special occasions like Dunkirk. And then the final thing was preservation. So we split it into these three areas. Do you want to take a...
There is a question for Ms. Tassadar-Dean. Are you concerned that the streaming platforms such as Netflix and Amazon have altered the current cinematic discourse?
Well, funnily enough, I don't think I should be the one answering that question, because I show in museums and galleries, and my desire is for the works that are made as artworks are not in any way digitized, because for me a digitization of a film made by an artist in an art museum is a facsimile and not the original. And we've talked about this a lot, but in the art world, the word, you know, we use the word medium specificity, which means that if you go and see a painting, it is a painting. It's not a digital copy of the painting. And the museum is the place that protects the original object. And we have to apply those rules within museology. We have to also apply them to you know, within cinema. But I'm not the person to answer about streaming. Of course, you know, it's more for Chris, I think.
No, but there's a part 2 to the question.
Oh, sorry.
Probably the one that points that we've covered. So the debate is moving from mediums to exhibition platforms, from film versus digital versus theatrical.
Say that. Well, for a start, we're going to stop talking about film versus digital. This whole reframing the future of film is to start bringing in film plus digital. We're living in a landscape where we can have both. You know, everything is about choice. So it's very strange on this one issue we should be reduced to just one option again. And it's all about choice. So I don't know if that answers the question because I didn't quite hear it. But
because as an artist, you should have the choice to decide the medium you want to shoot on. And that's what the dialogue is all about. That's what we are all looking at, that I should have the choice to preserve the film the way I want to preserve it. And I'm sure if I have made a film, I don't like to see celluloid, man. I try to push. I remember when it was chosen in Teleroid, and we had great friends there, and they said, it's too expensive to ship the print. I said, I'll offer to pay for it, but I'd rather have you watch in the way I've shot the film. And that's what we all aspire to be as creative people, is that we want the original format in which way we have shot the film to be seen in that.
The next question is addressed to Mr. Nolan. Are there any common misconceptions about digital and film that harm the conversation you want to initiate? There's a famous misconception about digital's longevity and reliability. What are some of the others?
Well, I mean, a lot of the point of these events and the point of the conversation we had this morning was in dispelling certain myths. Really, these arise because there's been a very powerful financial imperative for electronics companies and technology companies to try and transform the industry. And that's always been the same. There's nothing new there. But what happens as a result is you tend to get accusations to undermine a particular medium, in this case film, accusations that it's more expensive, or it's prohibitively expensive, or it's too difficult, or there aren't any projectionists left to project the film prints, these kind of things. And we've spent the last few years just patiently explaining that, you know, film is here to stay, and it's a wonderful medium that we can all enjoy. And we've continued to work in the same way we've been working for many years. And as Tassadar said, it's really not about film versus digital. It's about preserving this medium for, you know, future generations of filmmaking to be able to use it. And so I don't want to repeat any of the misconceptions because they get propagated. But, you know, ultimately, what's been really exciting about the meeting today, a meeting with leading members of the Indian film community, is there's a spirit of optimism. There's a spirit of film having a wonderful future and great potential. And there's a lot of excitement around it, a lot of excitement from filmmakers and exhibitors and everybody else in terms of continuing to give audiences a reason to leave their homes and come together in a movie theater to experience a story.
Thank you so much.
You know, I just want to add that just after the meeting, two DOPs have confirmed, and they have said that they're very sure they're going to go. Sudeep Chatterjee, who shot Padmavat and who shot all Bansali's films. And you also had Santosh Sivan, who's going to be shooting his next film, on celluloid. So I think the meeting translated into, even someone like Shah Rukh, who was there, he had his own great opinion, and he's messaged me, and he's sort of so excited about the fact that this medium is something which he thinks should be there for all of us. And we are all very excited after.
And actually, I just want to say something more about the poetics of the medium. I felt very strongly this morning, it was quite an emotional meeting, because there was actually around that table a profound understanding of the qualities and the nature of film, which almost every person felt. And, you know, film is a different medium. I could not make my work with digital, and I work with all the, what I call the disciplines of film. So, you know, and for me, it's about the poetics of the medium. I'm into chemistry and into the light and into the magic and the blindness and all such of this wonderful medium. And it was a very, very strong sense today, I thought, that everyone kind of understood the sort of fundamental differences of this medium from a digital medium. So it's not like we are in any way trying to go back. We're actually trying to go into the future. And my personal aim is that I want it to become normal to shoot film. I want it to be normal. I don't want to be, we both don't want to be doing this in 15 years' time. We want it to be normal. We don't want to have to, that artists and filmmakers don't want to have this resistance anymore because it's just there and it's fine. Let it just be normal.
In this discussion that you had at the round table, and there was probably every representative from every field, like scholars and filmmakers and viewers, how does the viewer fit into the conversation?
Well, very much so, actually. And I don't think we should underestimate the viewer, because I know from personal experience people that will cross cities to go and see a film projected as film, because the experience is different. And I know that's exactly what...
You all know about the Dunkirk screening. I was just giving that example. 70mm Dunkirk screening, IMAX Wadala, and 35mm Interstellar at Liberty. It took 10 minutes, just 10 minutes, for the tickets to be sold, because it was just about 70mm. People want to experience to see a film the way the creator had created it originally. And I think that's the respect which we must have, and we must feel for it. So here you are. If Chris wants to add to that.
It's also a good film. Give it a break. No, I think. No, I think it's exactly the point, which is I work in a field where the audience is constantly being underestimated by people who finance the films and distribute the films. There's often a feeling of nobody cares, nobody knows the difference. And actually, when you talk about myths to be dispelled, I think the main myth is when this discussion has arisen in the past about why somebody would choose to shoot film, even if it seems more difficult than shooting digitally, they speak as if filmmaking were a logical and a pragmatic thing to do, and it's not. And no film is logical and pragmatic. Films are about dreams, they're about magic, they're about escapism and experience. And so, to a certain extent, you have to embrace your emotional side and your feelings about a medium, and whether you want to work that way or not work that way. Those things become important. And I think we see that just as much from audiences as we do from filmmakers. We're constantly in dialogue with audiences. Indeed, we are the audience ourselves. And we forget that at our peril.
And somewhere I feel not enough choice has been given to the audience too in India. You know,
Yeah.
they don't have, I mean, really, if you really want to see a film on 35 mm or 70 mm, where do you go and see it? And that was the whole point of the dialogue, that to make that space available, to see whether exhibitors can come forward, where they could be. You know, I was just before Tacita got in touch with me, I was in constant dialogue to have 35 mm screening in the Preview Theatre of Liberty as a club where they can experience the 35 mm, because we didn't have our own space. We don't have a museum or a space because we are a very young foundation. And I think this dialogue will help that to sort of feature. Even the NCP, where we are going to be talking, they have 35 mm screenings, they have 16 mm lovely projectors, but they haven't been working. And the inspiration we will get out of this is the fact that you will see them running back soon. So I think the viewers are going to get it. It's going to change. And we hopefully, this dialogue will help us to make it very soon.
Thank you. Mr. Nolan, you're a great inspiration to most filmmakers and especially the youth, especially in India. And although they follow you everywhere in your work and you're obviously a role model for them because you shoot on film and you're not compromising on that, at times they feel very dispirited about their lack of option for shooting on film. What would you say to them?
Well, I think making films is always about facing insurmountable, seemingly insurmountable odds. Anybody who tries out to go out and direct a film and has to get a budget, has to get a crew together, has to surmount all kinds of obstacles. And so I'm just trying to position and empower filmmakers to view their choice of medium as one of the things that they have to fight for. And none of these fights are easy, particularly when you're starting out. But they're all worth fighting for, and they're all part of that tension and that process that filmmakers go through to tell the stories that they want to tell. And I think some of that tension can actually be productive, because you're made to think about what's important to you and what you really care about. And what we want to see as film goers on screen are stories and presentations that the people who made them care deeply about.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Do
Michelle.
feel that in the room there was a positive feedback from people who were on the other side of filmmaking, which is the exhibition?
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, I felt very positive energy in the conversation from all aspects, particularly exhibition. Obviously, their frustration is that they get pulled in different directions and they're told to go digital because people want that, and then it's come back to film because people want that. But I think the enthusiasm and the excitement that everyone feels around films in this community is vital, and is what will allow great things to happen in this regard, because ultimately it's about getting people together, getting them out of the house, and giving them a fantastic experience at the movies.
Okay, thank you. Should we?
Is that it?
Yeah, we better go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay.
Is it possible, Mr. Nolan, to post
Hi guys, this is Rakul and you're watching Wild Bollywood. Please subscribe.